All right, I guess we're all settled in. We'll get this party started. Call to order this regularly scheduled meeting of the Killable Hills Board of Commissioners. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for coming out. Great to see everybody here. Would you please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah. This is our one meeting in the holiday month. I hope you'll join me for a moment of silence and think of those less fortunate. Thank you so much. Again, great to see everybody. Nice to see the Christmas tree in here. We have an agenda before you. Got it earlier last week. Any thoughts?
I would move to approve the agenda as presented, Mayor.
All right, we have a motion on the floor.
Second.
And a second and a half. Any further discussions? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. We have an agenda. First item on our agenda is a public hearing on a proposed zoning amendment. Do we need some legal disclaimers to get into a public hearing?
A motion to go in. Well, actually, no, we do it a little bit different here, but if you would, just make a motion to go into public hearing and then I'll read the rules, things of that nature.
All right, so moved. Make a motion. We go into a public hearing.
I'll second that, Mayor.
We have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you, man.
Floor is yours.
So, prior to tonight's meeting, all the required notices for this public hearing have taken place. Anyone, of course, that wants to speak on the topic of the public hearing is able to speak during this time. Comments, however, will be limited to 3 minutes if they're a single person, 5 minutes, however, if they're speaking on behalf of a group or if their statement's been submitted in writing to the town clerk prior to the meeting. We'll obviously call roll here in a second. Any and all comments are going to be taped here. We just asked everything stay oral and obviously concise to the matters relevant to the public hearing itself. Having said that, this particular public hearing is to consider a proposed zoning amendment to Chapter 153.076A9H and 153.076D, off-street parking and loading. Purpose being create parking and driveway requirements for emergency services facilities. Has anyone signed up? No one signed up, so at this point, I'll just call from the crowd. Does anyone have any comments to make regarding the proposed zoning amendment I just discussed? I think that's a no, Mayor. We'll turn it over to you guys for discussion.
All right, as you've probably read in your packet, and for the benefit of the crowd here who might not be following this exciting event, we're talking about public facilities like the emergency medical station that's in the works. We didn't actually have anything on the books regarding how the driveways of the parking would be set up or what the rules were there for. So staff worked that up. It went through the planning department and the planning board, who voted on it and recommended approval as it's presented. The basics are up there. You could read it. But basically has something to do with how many parking spaces you would need and how wide the driveway access could be on the road. Did I miss anything? Sounds good. All right. So that's a little recap. Any thoughts from the board? Otherwise, move this thing forward.
I think it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something they need, and if we want them to provide emergency services, we're going to need to do this, make this accommodation.
It's certainly one of those scenarios where all of the folks who know this stuff better than I do have weighed in on what the proper
Correct.
ratios would be. You know, I know that we have a ratio for retail that's 1 for 200
Yep.
square feet, et cetera, et cetera. This one allows for space for every employee plus a bunch more parking spaces for anything that would have to do with training. That's at a
Right.
200 square foot ratio, which seems reasonable to my layperson brain.
I think so too.
And, you know, lots of driveway space for the curb cut or whatever would be needed for emergency medical. Again, that's the experts have all weighed in on it. So
Yep.
any other discussion on it?
I'll just move to
Go ahead.
approve the proposed zoning amendment in that it's consistent with the, that it's consistent in section 153.076A, 9H, and 153.076D off-street parking and loading. Created parking and driveway requirements for emergency service facilities is consistent with all comprehensive plans and all other official adopted plans of the town of Kildare Hills that are applicable. The amendment is reasonable and in the public interest because it provides adequate development standards for emergency services.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So we have a motion on the floor and
Second.
a second from Mr. Gray. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Again, big thanks to staff and everybody in emergency services that weighed in and worked on this project to get that going. The next item on our agenda is, public comment. We do this twice at every meeting. You can talk about anything you like. Same kind of rules apply, 3 minutes and 5 minutes. But really, any topic you'd like to speak on, you could here and now, or at the end of the meeting as well. We'll have a second public comment. Anyone like to speak tonight? Did anyone sign up? Oh, there is one. Oh, here we go. Somebody did sign up. The first on the list is Marie Ruggiero. I think am I pronouncing that right? Close enough. Sorry. Last Ruggiero. No, I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, that's better. Okay.
That was better.
Okay.
Ruggiero, but that's
Okay. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's fine. I live at 405 West Martin Street, and I just wanted to say real quick that I am in support of the proposed lower speed limit on the west side of KDH. I am in support of anything that will slow people down on the west side of KDH. It's currently 25, as you all know, and probably know. And the speed at which people go down those streets, Martin Street in particular, because that's where I live, is unbelievable. So lowering the speed limit and enforcing it really, I think, is the key there. I know in the past, and you guys can look it up, I'm sure, I've called the police department, and I've emailed a bunch of you guys, probably tired of me, about the speed limit, and they put out the speed boxes, the ones that actually track the speed limits, and they have clocked people in the 50s, 64, 60 something on Martin Street. So I'm good with whatever. Anything you can do to slow that traffic, because it's not even safe to send my child out to get the mail from the mailbox. So thank you for putting that out there. Thank you for listening.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
it.
much.
Thank
Thank you. I'm afraid to try anybody's last name. Laura with an S. Swisher. Hopefully I got that.
That's super easy. At
not
least I didn't
tricky,
put
right?
my maiden name on there, Cambielli, so you would
Gotcha.
have done both. Hi, good evening. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. My name's Laura Swisher. My husband Paul and I live at 900 West 3rd Street. I'm here to provide very vocal support to lowering the speed limit on the west side of Kildare Hills. We are very appreciative of the upgrades that we've had on West 3rd Street. The sidewalk is wonderful. The new paving job has created an environment that is fraught with opportunity to speed. The speeding on West 3rd Street is horrible. I work from home. I have 3 dogs. I walk them twice a day, and crossing and or just walking on the sidewalk is treacherous. And I'm worried that somebody's going to get hit, whether it's me or another resident. We've contacted Kildova Hills Police and asked for increased enforcement. We get it for an hour here and there. I hear the sirens. I see people getting pulled over. So enforcement is happening. And I know that they're spread very thin and can't be with us 24/7 to enforce it. But I too would also be supportive. If it's not a reduction, if they're not following 25, maybe they won't follow 20 and it'll be even harder to enforce. Any action would be great, including stop signs on all the streets that provide a traffic light to the bypass or the Access Bay Drive would certainly, I think, do a good job at slowing people down at best. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it. Those are the two I had signed up. Floor is open. Anybody else who'd like to get up there? Going once, going twice. There'll be another opportunity at the end of the meeting. Thank you both. Really appreciate it. Any other response to public comment? Think we're going to discuss it, I guess, later, but if anybody wanted to. Okay. We will move right into it. So ongoing business, our first item is, or I think in ongoing business, nothing there, right? Just new business. First item of new business is proposed reduction of West Side speed limit to 20 miles per hour. So that is what we're getting into right away. So we've got the memos from the town manager. Did you want to say anything?
Attached to the memo that I've provided you is also a memo from Steve Albright, Public Services Director, who references the manual on uniform traffic control devices that the Board of Commissioners has adopted. Staff recommendation also includes the review of the police department's speed and crash data and the town engineer's analysis. And the town engineer, Pete Berkheimer, is here, and Dale also, if you have any questions of them.
Gotcha. So help me recap here just for getting the conversation started. Tell me if I've got this generally right. I think uniformly we're all very concerned about speeding and danger, right? So we're looking for solutions that could help mitigate those risks. But when it comes to the ordinance that you just mentioned, I forget it off the top of my head.
MUTCD.
MUTCD. It doesn't just roll off the tongue.
It doesn't for me.
If I'm understanding that correctly, and tell me if I got this right, it basically says that in order to change the speed limit away from the statutory speed limit, which is 25 in that general kind of roadway, an engineering study needs to be done in order to support those changes. Or have I described that correctly?
It recommends.
Recommends. It's one of those things when government documents say recommends, I'm always a little unsure what they mean by that.
Right.
So I guess you can act without it, but it's not advised, as it were.
That's my understanding.
Right.
Yes.
And if I could recap the data, we've collected a ton of data on from those speed devices, and the good news is that generally most people don't speed, right? Is that the takeaway there? Oh, there we do have some occasional outliers that of these folks that spoke definitely notice. Yeah.
Sure.
And we've got some folks from our police department. I'm sure that they know off the top of their head kind of how often we ticket and have a feel for that too.
Yes.
Would any of you guys like to speak on that? No?
Last year, January to the present, we've issued 57 speeding tickets, all on the west side, and issued 102 warning citations for that same area. That's not counting verbal warnings, but maybe give not documented, but also stop cheap as you slow it down a little bit and you go anyway.
Gotcha. How does that, we have 60 some odd miles of roadways, probably 3/4 of them on the west side. How does that stack up to?
So this is only a fraction of the speed we had.
Oh, a ton more on the bypass, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
Bypass and on NC 12, any roads in between there.
Right. I guess what I was really trying to ask was how does that number stack up to that number of residential street miles compared to places across the state?
That information, I don't.
We don't have that. Okay. These are the kinds of things my little data brain wants to figure out. And then I guess, Pete, I know you know this kind of world inside and out. Would you be interested in speaking a little extemporaneously about what works and what historically has and hasn't worked with in regard to changing behaviors in terms of speeding?
Oh,
Uh-oh, what's you got
Which Pete do you want?
here?
I'm going to start with
Academic,
Well, of course,
Yeah.
academic
Yeah.
Pete.
Thank
start with the town engineer hat.
you. No, just attorney.
American Engineering is thankful for the chance to be of service and is at your beck and call, and also subscribes to the MUTCD, which is not an ordinance at all. It is a guideline, an engineer's guideline on how to regulate and control traffic through signs and devices. It does suggest a study for either a deviation from a statutory speed limit or to create a new statutory speed limit, which sounds more like that you're contemplating tonight. And we will do a study. We will conceive and give you a proposal for and perform a study as best we can to try to gather the data to do a scientific and technically based adjustment to the speed limit sign if one is indicated.
Yeah, he's another hat. The other non-hat. Oh, he has actually a second hat. Love it.
Pete Burkheimer, 302 St. Louis Street, Kill Devil Hills, North Carolina. Our fellow citizen to Ms. Ruggiero and Ms. Swisher over there, my good friend from the West 3rd Street Wars. There is a problem. There's no question there's a problem. My own personal, but not on your nickel engineering instincts would lead me to gather data in the form of blanketing the west side with perhaps a dozen and a half or 20 or even 25 your speed signs, not just a sample here and move it here and move it here, but put them out for a long time for the sake of the data and for the sake of the self-correcting factor that it has on me as your favorite laboratory rat. I know how they work for me, and they probably won't work for the violators. Anybody who's a big enough jerk, and I say that as a term of engineering precision, to go even 40 miles an hour in a 25, much less 50 or 64, is incorrigible, and nothing we do in a civilized proceeding like this is going to help us anything with that. Hard enforcement, reckless driving enforcement is all you can do for somebody like that. And they're probably under the influence of something anyway to do something that dumb. But I know the effect it has on me. And it just feels, remember, I'm not wearing this hat right now, but it just feels to me like the good people who would then be asked to creep along at 20 or 22 on roads that feel right at 25, that it would be better to gather a lot of data, even though it would be expensive. And I'll go so far as to say this. If you'll spend 50 grand on your speed signs, I'll go off the American Engineering clock and do the engineering analysis from the data that comes from that for free, just so that you'll be somewhere in the neighborhood of break even. But you might be interested in finding out what data it does bring back. Supposedly, because a road does drive best at a certain natural speed, supposedly you ought to be setting the speed limit within a few miles per hour of the 85th percentile speed, recognizing there are going to be 15% who'll go a little over that, maybe a lot over that. We're talking about the 1 or 2% that are going way over that, the idiots. And I think that as much as I totally agree with the ladies who spoke so well tonight, that it is a problem, it needs to be addressed. I don't know about enforcement. I don't know Do you enforce at 7 over? Do you enforce at 11 or 12 over? Where do you enforce? And what happens if you enforce and the courts won't back you up? Have you at least inconvenienced the people who are doing 35 or 32 enough to where they'll be tempered down a little bit? These are not easy questions. I just, the guy with the Kill Devil Hills address just feels inclined to try to appeal to the better angels of people, the people between the 85th percentile and the 98th or 99th. See if perhaps a PR program combined with some year speed signs could bring them in line and just absolutely enforce without mercy on those 1 or 2 percenters. That's just me. Thank you for the opportunity to share that, and I love and respect every one of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Pete. Thanks. Yeah, so I didn't get to ask the other question. So you said $50,000 is kind of to have those gadgets that tell you your speed and show blue lights if you're going over. They're about $5K a piece,
I think,
less in bulk.
yeah. And these are the ones that are stationary.
The radar stationary your speeds.
Right.
Mhm.
You just strap them onto any old existing post on the street,
If
right?
you get the bells and whistles that when you go way over, it goes red, white, and blue and all flashing on you, they may be up closer to 5. But I've seen them for 2,500. $3 grand, 3,500 might be a good.
The one in Southern Shores actually tells you to slow down. It says
There's
slow
words,
down,
it says slow
it's
down.
flashing.
Mhm.
They got the $6,000 one, right? Yeah.
I don't know how I know that. It was the car in front of me.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
The one at the toll does that too.
I was like, oh, we told him to slow down. Not me.
Not me, it was that guy.
Way back.
from a couple hundred yards
So
away.
if I could
Yes.
interject, the issue with the lower end ones, the 2,500 ones that Pete was referencing, is most of those are battery operated and they have a manual download. So we would have to have a person to change those batteries. And when you're talking 20 to 30 signs to change those batteries and download that data.
Eats up a lot of time.
Yeah. And the higher end ones, the 5,300 that I think I sent you the quote, you can download it from the office and they're solar powered. So that's the difference.
Okay.
Yeah, you get a lot more data because they're out there, week in, week out.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it takes a person off the road to change all those batteries out, keep them charged and whatnot.
Those things all have
Mhm.
costs, right? Yeah. So you just pay it a different way. So wanted to open it up for discussion and not hog the mic. So I know that Terry, you brought this forward.
I did, and
I'm
I'm
sure-
I'm
I
very
know a
much
lot of
in
folks have
support
talked
of,
to-
of
Go ahead.
reducing it to 20. I've talked to a lot of citizens that have that concern. With the COVID issue, there's a lot more people that are at home and staying at home, and they're out walking their dogs and they're playing with the kids. I know in a conversation I had with one of them, I said, you know, the little green men with the orange flag,
Yeah.
you see a whole lot more of them out there now.
That's true.
And, because people are concerned about people speeding. I have a road right near my house, Quail Lane, which I know people are flying down there. I don't know what the speed is, but it's got to be at least 40 mile an hour down there, maybe even faster. 3rd Street, I hear some pretty
Long
bad horror
straightaway.
stories about that. And I think in general, we've got to do something. I know that Nags Head, and that's not a justifier for doing it, but I know they had the same issue and they lowered their speed limit to 20 on the west side. Some of the comments I've heard from some of those folks is it's helped a little bit. Is it going to deter it all? Probably not. But it might cause people to lower, what they're exceeding the speed by. So number one, I support it 100%. And we've got to do something to try to slow people down because they're just going too fast.
I'd like to chime in too. When we first started having this discussion, it was right about the time when daylight savings time ended. And every day, especially when we have rush hour, I guess KTH rush hour traffic going home and our east to westbound roads, the sunset is right in our cars' faces and makes it extremely difficult to see. some days worse than others. And the same thing happens in the morning on the way to work. And, the natural instinct is to slow down in those circumstances. Not everybody does. And maybe lowering the speed limit for some of those roads where visibility is challenged at dusk, could help that.
I know you've talked to folks. We all try to do our own little anecdotal
Yeah.
collection of data.
I've picked, I know a lot of families with little kids in town. And so I've kind of tried to poll a few. I also spend a good majority of my day outside in my yard with lots of little kids. If you've ever been by my house, I have a huge barrier that basically prevents kids from getting to the street because our street is pretty fast as well. So I didn't find anyone who said it was a bad idea to lower the speed limit. I think I talked to about 10 or 12 people. So, but again, I'm like, Pete, that's creeping. Admittedly, I have a tiny bit of a light foot, not in neighborhoods, but I've tried to go several times now, go 20, and it's effort. Like you have to make effort to go 20. So I think something needs to be done. I like the idea of the boxes a lot. It's we've had one on Martin and it self-corrects people. You can see people come to that box and it works. It definitely works. So I think maybe what we need is a combination. Like, let's see what it would be to potentially do a study. Let's put some money into getting some more boxes. I would be all for that. Even if we lower the speed, I'd like to see us invest in some more boxes, especially those solar ones that's not taking time away from our force. So,
Yeah, I think it's interesting to reduce the speed to 20, so hopefully people will go 30 at 20.
Instead of 35.
Yeah, instead of 35. I think that's just natural. But, 20 is really hard to do. I don't like, basically punishing, so to speak, everybody for the outliers, like Pete so eloquently said. I think that, those are the people that need, enforcement. I'd like to see more enforcement on the roads, just the officers I'd like to see. I think at least I always report on my road, which is Bay Drive, and it's become like a bypass of sorts, especially since it's been paved. And, so I don't see, to be honest, a lot of officers on that road. Just as my aside, I see them patrolling, but I don't see a lot of tickets being written. So, but that's neither here nor there. I think that reducing it to 20 west side, the entire west side, might be just seems extreme to me. But the boxes, if we could do some study with the boxes and get some data as to what roads might need it, maybe not all the roads on the west side, but the ones that do, and just kind of study that. Those obviously the police officers would use the data to maybe figure out what roads need more enforcement as well. So the data is always good. We got to use it. We got to use it. If we see a lot of outliers on Martin, or if we see a lot of outliers on Bay, or any of these these streets that people are shooting, down now, that don't have stop signs, then, they might need the 20, they might need more officers, all of that. All of the roads, 20 is tough, it's kind of like, it seems almost like a joke when you see it to me. When you see it on roads nowadays, to see 20, you're like, 20, can't put a foot on the gas. But like I said, that'll maybe bring people down to 30, and that's what we at least want, So I'm just being realistic, because I think we're all, I could ride my bike at 20. So,
Yeah.
So anyway, but the data is good. Those things do slow people down for sure. Those boxes. So, but using that, to figure out, okay, where's the outliers? What street are the most outliers on? Are the most outliers on Martin 3rd, Bay, wherever it may be? That may be the roads we need to do it not maybe entirely sweeping the west side with a 20 mile per hour, but I don't know. I'm not against it, of course. I'm not like, I don't think anybody's against it. That's why you don't see a lot of people here. I don't think anybody would say they're flat out against it. It seems like it's extreme, a little bit extreme for the outliers that exist to go everybody at 20, That's my opinion.
Do we know if NAGSED did a speed study before changing? No.
They did not. I asked that question. They didn't do a study. And don't get me wrong, Pete and his group do fantastic work. They've done miracles with drainage and so forth. I don't think we need a study on this either. I wouldn't support that.
I get that instinct that, the
Not for free?
$1 million, right?
Wait a second.
You hear that one?
He said, he's going to look at the boxes. Anyway. Okay.
So yeah, we do have that offer. We appreciate that. That's great. I'd love to just get your take on the data.
And the town manager sent us some information that was passed on from the
Yep.
police department. And that's exactly what the boxes are designed to do, is to make people consciously aware of their speed, and they work. They've done studies on them in a lot of different areas other than here, and they found out that in the 98th percentile, they're effective, for slowing people down. But I am of the opinion that I don't like speed bumps. I don't think that's the way to go. I don't think that four-way stop signs are the way to go. I think we need to lower the speed limit to 20 miles an hour.
And the interesting thing is, there'd almost be nicer to have the information of locals versus vacationers, because it is a real. I mean, obviously we have vacationers in our West Side neighborhoods now because of our Airbnbs and all that. So we do have a lot more vacationers in the West Side, and we didn't, 10 years ago. So now, like, are these locals trying to get home from work? I mean, I'm guilty as that. I'm running around, quickly running my kids to this and that, and like my hair's on fire sometimes. But so I know locals do want to get home, or they are running errands. But I'd also wonder, like, how much of that is vacation or traffic? I'm saying it will never. That's really hard to break that down. But education or whatever. I mean, do you care about your community? Like, you're worried about the people that live around you, or are you here for a week and maybe you're just kind of like,
I mean, it really comes down to efficacy in my mind. Like, I always circle back to the data. It may not be that we need a local study, but you're right. We're not reinventing the wheel here. 20 versus 25 miles an hour has been studied for hundreds of thousands of hours by thousands of universities and departments of transportation across the nation have studied this, and we haven't. I know I haven't. I've tried to. Doesn't all pop up when you Google it, but I get the little I have seen is not making me feel good about the 20 mile an hour actually achieving the goal. I want to achieve the goal. The goal is we have dangerous drivers, some number of them, and we're trying to figure out how do we change that behavior. And I'm not fully convinced that changing the speed limit accomplishes that. It doesn't have a good track record that I could find online quickly, as like I did my own research. No, I'm really a fan of getting like academic research on this kind of thing. And I think, NAGSED probably hasn't had it in effect long enough to really get a good feel for it. And it's a tiny, tiny small town. There are thousands of small towns that have had the same exact problem. If we could go back in time, we'd make all the roads curvy, because I know that actually works, right? That's why nowadays modern residential neighborhoods always have curvy streets, because you can't go but so fast. This curve is a certain amount, right? And Pete speaks to that whole idea about the psychology of it too. If you have houses that are right on the curb, you go through a small town in West Virginia and the houses are built way back when and they're all right on the sidewalk, you would be really uncomfortable driving more than 25 miles an hour because it's right there on you. But our streets have big right of way and big front yards and usually a driveway, and it feels right to go 25 miles an hour, and it'll feel extremely slow all the way down 3rd Street at 20. If you're going to be the one that follows the rule, that's adding an extra minute to that drive. Like, still driving down 3rd Street at 20.
Yeah.
So I see that there are unintended negative consequences too. That's not to say that I can't be convinced otherwise. I am leaning towards more study and boxes. And I don't know if you're still standing there because you want to say something, but I want to recognize if you want to. Did you
No,
have more
but
to-
I have been told that some of the Nags Head residents want the speed limit to go back up to 25 during the winter. So they want a winter speed limit and a summer speed limit. Also, the question was posed to me, well, what about the east side? It makes more sense for them to decrease the speed on the east side because there's so many people going back and forth across to the
More
beach.
pedestrians, yeah.
And pedestrians, and you know that's a trouble spot during July 4th anyway, with people going back and forth. So just some food for thought.
Thank you. Appreciate that
Yes.
too. Interesting you mentioned speed bumps, and I don't know what their track record is either. And I know that nobody likes going over them, but you definitely don't like going over them fast. So at least you know they have some effect. They certainly slow me down. And I remember when I was young, I tried to drive over them fast, and then I realized that's not a good idea.
Like over the car, yeah.
And you're like 16, and you're like, what? Oh, geez, that was a bad idea. Find out that the way the hard way, but and I don't know what we can do as a government as far as public shaming, but I'm a big fan. No, I'm just kidding. I was thinking, like, if you take people's pictures and put it in the paper, here's our offenders. It's Joe Bob. He did it. I remember I grew up in a military family. We moved around a lot. We lived in Germany for 3 years when I was a teenager. And in Germany, in the 80s, they had a box on the side that would not only get your speed, it wouldn't tell you you're speeding. It just took a picture of your license plate, sent you the ticket. I mean, you just got it in the mail, $100. There it is. Collection.
Wow.
They've been doing that since the 80s. So I don't know when we're going to catch up to that level of surveillance.
They do
But
it in the United States.
I know we have the tech for this. Very easy.
They definitely do it.
Oh, yeah. They do.
They do it on.
I think we
toll roads.
probably have the tech to shoot it at the thing and put your last name up on the billboard, right? There it is. Smith. He did it.
They have toll roads in that they know how long it should take from one to the next. They know exactly how many people are speeding and who's speeding at
Oh,
all
wow.
times. Because if you go at the speed limit, it should take you X amount of time to get from
Right,
this
right.
toll to the next.
License plate 1, 2, 3, 4. Here, click. Your average was such and such. So anyway, very interesting topic. I'm not sure where we want to go from here. If I'm reading it correctly, we're not feeling super unanimous, but we're definitely not done ready to put this down either. So you tell me where do you think we're ready to go?
Mayor, I'll make a motion.
Looking for an up or down vote?
Yes, sir. I'll
That's
make a
one way to
motion
go.
that we have staff take the necessary steps to lower our speed limit to 20 mile an hour on the west side in Kill Devil Hills.
Mayor, I'll second that motion.
All right. I guess that's the way it goes. We have a motion and a second. One last chance for further discussion. I've talked a bunch over. This meeting makes 3 years as mayor. Time flies.
Yeah.
It was like COVID mayor, but now mayor, right? We've had a lot of unanimous votes, and I've been very
We have.
proud of the fact that we come together on a lot of things, and I like to slow it down when we can't get to a unanimous spot. I think we all want to solve this problem, and this may not be a unanimous vote. So, so be it. Anyone else have any last remarks? All right. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? Nay. Is that 2 to 3, yeah?
Yeah.
All right. So
3
motion
to 2.
Fails.
does not carry. Yeah, motion fails.
That's right. Motion.
I do have a
Motion
question, Chief. I'd like to know what I would like to see is us put a motion towards getting some staff to work on what ordering boxes would look like, how many, how much, Pete
Recommendation.
saying they're cheaper in that. That's what I would like to see us do. And if that's something that Chief thinks that we can utilize and get to a point where we're more comfortable with.
Sure.
So just curious if.
Well,
Pete's already, I respect Pete a whole lot, and he's already threw the number out there. What was it, 20 or 30?
I take it back.
So I can't go, I'm not gonna go against what Pete.
I'm ready to take Pete up on his offer to analyze his data for
Be
free,
happy to.
is
But
is what I'm
Take it
saying.
back.
Keith has checked his prices, and he has checked more closely than I have
Okay.
about the solar and
Right.
the self-reporting and everything, all of which totally dwarf any advantage of them having to go out and change batteries and do on-the-spot readings. So I stand down on the cost of those puppies.
Okay. The engineer has spoken.
But I do believe they work. So I'll be in favor of however many the town can think they can afford. Because, we have hundreds of roads
Right.
in KDH. So
Super, we appreciate that.
Maybe we could start with like our thoroughfare streets, like Third Street.
Right.
Martin.
But what we
Yeah,
had in the
absolutely.
First Street
past
definitely.
was vandals that do not like our speed signs
Yeah.
for enforcement, or either, and we've had some destroyed by weather before that have fallen off in the water and gotten damaged. So obviously they'd have to be insured and whatnot. But as many signs. Of course, if we only had 5 or 10, we would have to move them because every street would want one in their
Mhm.
neighborhood, So, got to think whether they're going to be fixed or whether they're going to be movable.
So yeah, I'd go a little further and say, we'd love to get your department's expert opinion, knowing our community, sort of a hierarchy of, Third Street and Landing, ones that go east to west that are real straight are probably top of the list. If you could make a kind of descending order wish list of the places that would be most beneficial. Obviously, we want to have every dollar of the taxpayer that we spend be as effective as possible. And maybe we can have an A and a B plan, a small plan, a big plan, and then we could talk to finance about how our budget's looking and see what we can fit into this budget or what we could work on for the 2023-24 budget. The other thing I thought too is, and I don't know if this is necessarily the police department or maybe it's town staff, is that we do this job part-time, but if there was some time and effort to research other communities and what they've found to be successful in changing behavior, and even maybe in the legal, like, can we take people's pictures and send them a ticket? I don't know. Is there a law against that? Can we put people's pictures in the paper? Can we make a big sign on Third Street with their faces on it? Like, I don't know how far you can go and get away with it around here. But, psychology is a big part of this.
I'd have to
So,
research that.
yeah, I'm pretty sure you
Like,
can.
Please don't.
no.
I have no
Public
idea
flogging,
right
they
now.
don't do that anymore.
But it'd be a
Okay.
fun research topic for sure.
Yeah. So
I'd
anyway,
see
no.
some interesting.
What about adding stop signs to those long straight roads, like one in the middle somewhere?
I
That-
think
that
Pete would
slows-
probably weigh in that they don't have a good track record of.
I
Makes sense.
think
Slow you
that,
down.
I think the town has tried that before, somewhere around 2008,
Yeah.
on Bay Drive, and it didn't work too well.
No, yeah, forget Bay. How about like Third? I mean, because it's a long straight, or Martin, where it's a long straight. Maybe somewhere in the middle there having a stop sign if there was an intersection that could warrant that.
And I think the MUTCD manual states that stop signs and speed bumps are not to be used
Yeah.
for speed enforcement. Or
That's
not
right.
recommended.
I remember hearing that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know that's been
And
told us.
I go back to the beginning where you talked about the MUTCD and Pete said it's a recommendation. That particular book is what we use to make decisions on stop sign request for people that want a mid-block stop sign, because they're not effective and they can actually be very dangerous if stop signs are located in places
Well, they're not
that
expected.
are not expected.
Yeah.
It can cause significant amount of trouble. But the Board of Commissioners, and it wasn't particularly this board, but they did adopt the MUTCD as their primary guidance, more than recommendation, but how we make decisions
Mhm.
on traffic safety and how to move traffic safely through our town. So it is a book of recommendations, but the town adopted that recommendation as this is what we are using to be standardized.
Yeah, no, I get it. I
Yeah,
just
sometimes
still
those
think
stop signs can be really dangerous.
Yeah, you don't want to put one where you don't expect it, but if you can see it, and that was the problem on a couple of the roads. It was like there was no four-way. It wasn't a four-way. It wasn't an
You
intersection.
can't have a four-way if you only have three, the ones on Bay Drive were three ways.
The one right, and that was the problem. They weren't expected. There is a four-way. The one that has it as a four-way.
There's only one at
Fifth
Fifth Street.
Street.
It's the only
Fifth
four-way.
Street. Yeah.
Because the road extends.
Right.
Well, circling back just to recap, I guess we're all in the same mode of, trying to find more solutions and more ideas and things that are based on science and research and so that we don't create unintended negative consequences or risks or dangers, because that's certainly not something we want to be doing. And I think we do have some flexibility in the budget, and we definitely have the political will to put some other technology in place that hopefully starts making a difference on this problem that is probably not ever 100% solvable. We're just trying to mitigate. So I appreciate.
So we'll research that for you,
Yep.
Mary, and we'll give a recommendation to Ms. Diaz.
Excellent.
As far as how many signs that I think is possible.
That sounds great. Thank you so much.
Great.
And thank you, Kimke. Appreciate it. All right. I think we have exhausted that one. But I know our two citizens came, spoke, or appreciate the
Thank
being
you.
able to see the conversation. And thanks for adding some gravitas to the conversation. The next item on our new business list is appointments. The first one is A, Personnel Board. Let me get to the right page here. So our good friend Sue Kelly is on the Personnel Board. Her term expires January 2023. She has expressed a desire for reappointment. I know I'm a fan.
I am as well.
And given that she is interested and willing to do it again, anybody like to weigh in?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Congratulations, Sue, if you're listening online. Thank you for all you do for the town. We really appreciate it. Also making the town beautiful year after year in a lot of different ways. Got my stuff out of order again.
Mayor's agenda.
I was like, where did I put my? Where did I grab that? Sorry, I don't know where mine
No,
went.
no,
Just
we
disappeared.
got Commissioner's agenda, but
No, we're done.
you got a ton of stuff to bring up, don't you?
Oh, no. Zero.
All right, committee reports. That's where we were. Yeah.
Down here.
None here?
No, sir.
I have a Board of Tourism meeting Thursday, this coming Thursday, but the survey is now closed, the long range tourism plan survey or the residential survey. They're now conducting group interviews. If anyone is interested in that, please let me know. They're very specific. Some are education, some are government. I plan on sitting in both of those. And then from there, they'll begin to gather the information and so we can start to make a plan. In addition to that, the Board of Tourism has also added a volunteerism section to their website, which is really cool because it includes nonprofit organizations around the Outer Banks and events that ways you might be able to get involved if you're visiting and want to get involved, or organizations to donate to. So I thought that was a really cool way to maybe tap into tourism for some volunteer opportunities here.
That's
And
great.
it.
Super.
Yes, I want to thank you all again for supporting my appointment to the Coastal Resources Advisory Council. I attended that meeting November 16th down in Beaufort. It was kind of more of an orientation. There was a lot of new faces on the board appointed, and we did a deep dive on how land use plans work and how they are kind of agreements between municipalities, counties, and the state on how we manage our coastal waterways. I attended a good portion of the Coastal Resources Commission meeting on the 17th. Got to see some variance hearings, which were a lot more high stakes than I was prepared for. kind of, there's a big projects to get to that stage, and people really fight hard for them. With all the things discussed, the one thing that affects Dare County a lot that's coming back from the CRC to the CRAC is how will we address septic systems for houses that are falling into the ocean or getting consumed by any waterway across North Carolina. We're really taking our time to look into this and bring some good recommendations forward to mitigate damage and pollution through that. So that doesn't affect KDH terribly too much, but it does Dare County. And, as we have our quarterly meetings, I'll keep everybody posted. Thanks.
Yeah, it was the Black Pearls septic tank is washing into the surf right as we speak.
Wow.
Rough week down there.
Mm.
It's interesting you say that. I would have been working from home all week if it wasn't for the fact we have a new bridge right now. Like right now, this kind of just big surf event, not even a named storm, nothing really going on. It's completely filling up that whole place that used to be a road. They've taken the roadway out, so it's a little bit lower. So it looks like a canal through there right now. So that's something, if you get a chance. Altitude 12 had a nice video they posted yesterday of it where you can really see it in detail. And, that whole road of houses has all got water underneath it right now. I don't know if you heard, they changed one of the little roads there. So a whole bunch of those houses are going to be able to move forward, but not very far. But anybody who wants to can. So we'll see how many of them actually do. But yeah, seeing that septic tank always makes you feel bad about things, right? Yeah, it's tough. All right, so that has been our commissioner's agenda. Unless there was anything else.
Next.
I'm sorry, committee reports. Sorry, I jumped ahead there. So we're good with committee reports. Now, commissioner's agenda. Want to continue?
Yeah, I got a few things. I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce. They invited me to be on the panel for the Leadership OBX Municipal Government Seminar, which they had here. It was last week on the 30th. Had a packed house. It was a real good program. I was impressed, and a lot of quality emerging leaders in our community. A lot of good questions, and they didn't hold back on us. So it was nice to have, be a part of that panel and have a chance to interact with the community in an informal but professional way. I want to compliment staff on how well our holiday market went last week. I owe the town a debt of gratitude because now I don't have to worry about my Christmas card picture. It's all worked out. Just Santa Claus was right on time. He was working hard. And one family anecdote I thought was fun is my youngest son is 3 years old, and none of my kids I would ever call shy. And he power marched right up to Santa, and he turned around and he hunched his butt in the air and he put his elbows up. It's like, pick me up, let's get to work here. And he didn't hesitate or hold back, and that really tickled me to see how much he enjoyed it. So the decorations are still there for everybody to enjoy. It's beautiful. And staff did a great job. One last thing to share with the group. Someone recently shared an idea with me that I'm pretty excited about. I've talked to a few of you about this already. We are flush with mulch. We have an awful lot of it. But the way we have it set up, only people with pickup trucks and trailers and are physically able to collect it and utilize it. So while we have it for everybody, there's only a proportion of people who can actually get to it. And one idea that I liked was, and it was shared with me, is maybe designate there certain days where people could make appointments and we could actually bring a load of mulch to someone's house and drop it off for them. They would, spread it out and do all that work on their own. But for people who don't have trucks and don't have trailers, or some of our senior citizens who may not be physically able to load one up, this could be a nice option for them to be able to access that resource. We got plenty of it. And that process works well. This just may be able to give more people access to it that don't have a chance to do that now. I know there's expense involved. There's labor involved. We have the resources, and, I'm just asking staff, maybe we could put something together, a certain amount of days in the off season where people could make an appointment and a load could be dropped off at their house. So I don't know how. I'll let the board chew on that, see what you think, and maybe staff could make a recommendation at a future meeting for that.
Tara and I spoke about it a little bit, and we were saying, yeah, it's tricky because, all of our town staff has a full plate. They're all busy working, particularly in the off season. They have lots of projects they're trying to get through. And yeah, we don't really know the demand. There might be a whole lot of people that want to, and you don't want to promise something you can't deliver if hundreds of people show up for it. But I like the idea of,
Something went wrong. Please try again.
whoa. Siri had an opinion about that. Anyway,
Watch it, Mayor.
got scolded by Siri. Thank God. But maybe it's a volunteer thing. Maybe we could say, hey, on these certain Saturdays in April and May when people are doing a lot of mulching, to say, hey, do you have a pickup truck? Do you want to volunteer? If you come to the thing and you say you want mulch, we've got a couple of guys with pickup trucks who volunteer to help you load it into their truck and then help you unload it at your place. But you got to participate on both ends, that sort of thing. Or maybe Terry brought up the idea of those places. We have a pile right here near the park.
Yeah.
But we do have a lot of paper streets, and we have a lot of other parks in the town that might have a corner somewhere, Heyman Park or some other smaller park where we could put a little a bin for the month of April. And
Yeah, I was thinking that way. But I didn't really think about what John talked about with people that just don't have a vehicle to get it. And so I think there's merit there. And I think we do need to figure out if there's something we can do. I was just thinking of putting a different site up to the northern part of town so people can pick it
a little
up.
more convenient.
But they're still not going to have a truck to be able to do it.
Mhm.
So, that's a valid point. And I think we need to investigate it, John. Good idea.
Yeah. I can't
Particularly,
take credit.
Did you mention that there's it's a problem that we have too much mulch that's gonna?
I can't speak to it being a problem. We have too much mulch, but it is an idea to just make it available to more people who can't utilize it.
I
Right
think
now.
we have an overabundance, don't we, Debbie?
Yeah, we're not.
I don't know that it's a
Derek,
problem.
maybe you can
I
talk
mean,
to that.
Well, we have a lot of mulch. And we've finally gotten caught up to where we're finally kind of gotten rid of the past few. We hadn't had a storm in a while, so we finally caught up. After the last few rounds of storms, we really never
Piled it up.
worked through the whole pile of mulch through the year. Like we had, we'd have some delivered where people would pick it up from Elizabethan Gardens, people like that. We would give it away to some municipal efforts, like Jockey's Ridge needed some for some dune stabilization. So we wouldn't let contractors come and get it. But if a contractor was working with Jockey's Ridge, Derek Hatchell brought dump trucks over and we loaded them up. Same with Elizabethan Gardens. We loaded them up. We do some loading at the recycle center. Candy, if we have two people working, people know that there's two people. They kind of figure it out, but we'll take the backhoe and load up somebody's trailer back there. So if somebody has a trailer they won't fill with mulch, they can drag it over there and we'll load it and you can take it home with you. As far as deliveries, I'm not sure how many people want as much as we would want to take them at one time.
Because they're large loads. Yeah.
We want to fill up at least like the F-250 dump truck and dump the whole thing instead of
Yeah.
somebody like assisting with unloading. Like we want
1 cubic yard, right?
Well, no, it'd probably be more like 3, 4.
Right, yeah. A truck is 3 or 4, but most
Yeah,
houses really
most
only
people
need
don't
one,
want
right?
Like one, and it's kind of
Okay.
not utilizing your time and getting rid of stuff that way. But you'd want to have one man who's driving over there with the truck, dump it in a spot in the yard, and then do that kind of leave.
Go.
Yeah.
Instead of they need a pitchfork and help and take too much time.
Yeah,
No,
we don't have that. That's not really fair to 7,000 residents. That's just a handful.
Yeah. I mean, we do want to get rid of it. We haven't. I've never seen it run out in the short amount of time I've been here. But it seems like as soon as we have a big storm, we won't work through it. Like it's a little low period we've had with storms. We are finally starting to work through it throughout the year.
Right. If the goal is to get rid of it, but get it to people that might not be able to get it, I think it might be more of an opportunity for, I think of the Boy Scouts, but I also think like the National Junior Honor Society or the National Honor Society, they need to do community service hours that, maybe we could help by saying, hey, if you need to make service hours and you got a strong back and a pitchfork, I got some work for you. It could be a good PR move too, to just have, obviously every spring we send it out in emails, we put it on social media sites, but if we've made some outreach to, who knows, it may be that some philanthropic group want to do a fundraiser and say, hey, you don't have a way to get mulch to your house? I can get the free mulch. Just make a donation to my philanthropy.
And maybe more organizational centered, like do like a chair challenge or something like that, where they go and clean up people's yards and things.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good
yeah.
partnership too. Yeah, you got to kind of think, how we put multiple things together and solve more than one problem. But it's a great topic of conversation, and Sue Kelly's group and everybody that's in improvement at the town is probably figuring out how can we get more mulch to more people, because it does make whatever you put mulch on looks nicer, right? That's why we use mulch mostly, make things look nice. So maybe we just need to promote it a little bit more.
And
But
maybe
really great
combining the volunteering with the loading. So if you're speeding that process up, you're getting more out there. So if you've got volunteers and you got, just pick one Saturday a month or something where, they'll definitely load it. Maybe it's not a Saturday. If you've got volunteers coming in, the trailer's loaded, they can move, let things go faster.
Do a little lap.
Combination, little combo.
But yeah, maybe that we, ask the public for their ideas on our social media. We have a way to interact with folks and say, we'd like to get mulch to more people. What does the public have to say about it? Lots of ways we can attack this cool idea. Really appreciate it, John. What a great idea. So yeah, sure something will catch on. We'll get something going. All right, we got a little time to work on it. I don't know a lot of people putting mulch out in January. Either you missed it for the fall or you're too early for spring. Let's see here. So I was running down Commissioner's agenda. We started with one, and did you have anything else for Commissioner's agenda?
Just to echo John's, the holiday market was incredible. The Ross and staff just do an amazing job every year. It's even more incredible.
Warm fuzzies. Yeah, I did get
That's
out to
great.
the one on Saturday. I originally wasn't going to be able to make it, and got to get there for the last hour or so and got to see it all lit up at night and talk to a bunch of vendors, and they really appreciate it and said they had a pretty good year, and wins all around. So thanks again to everybody who worked so hard to organize all those folks. I know that that's
Meredith,
a lot of work too. Waiting list,
a lot of work.
all the people with opinions. Commissioners.
Nothing for me.
I'd like to echo what's been said about the lights and the display. It looks great out there. Also want to compliment the fire department and the volunteers from the other departments in town that helped with the Santa ride around town.
So great.
It was well received, and I think Chief was even out there walking too, weren't you? Ahead of about 3 or 4 other people.
What's up?
Yeah.
I told my husband, no man ever made me run that much since high school.
This guy running.
Well, it was well received. It looked good, and thank y'all very much. I know there's a lot of people involved in it, and they did a great job. Nothing else, Mayor.
Super. Anything from you, sir?
No.
Yeah, I can't reiterate those many things any better than that. But I will tell you that I do get a lot of positive feedback. I try to promote those things on my own personal social media, and it gets tons of love. People talk about it and thank us for it. And Manio has their big events that they do, but people really love Santa coming to the neighborhood and really love the holiday market, which is new. And that was what we all hoped to do when we got into public services, to give folks a sense of pride in their community. And those two things have really done that over the last few years. So we appreciate everybody that goes the extra mile on staff. We appreciate it. After the commissioner's agenda is the mayor agenda. You saw in your packet that we have got a list of proposed meeting dates for 2023. we've had a little time to look at them. I went and looked up NC State spring break because I wanted to make sure I knew when that was. Turns out it is on the week of March 13th to the 17th. I don't currently have any plans to go out of town, but you know, I don't even know what the high school one is. I didn't have a chance to look that up.
We
Probably
actually
not.
did,
Yeah.
and that's why we proposed that you change,
April's. Is it-
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Right. So April, moved around a little bit. That's good.
Right.
So we got it on the first week and the last there. Yep.
Yeah.
So that was a smart move. And like I said, I don't think it'll be a problem for me in March. If I do anything with the kids, it'll be later in the week.
Right.
Does anybody else have any thoughts about those dates, or are they any conflicts, coming up for your personal? Oh gosh, I'm traveling again. Where's the RV going now?
January 9th, I'll actually be out of town that week. I'll wait
Alright.
until the kids go back in school and then we go on.
That's January 9th is the first day back for NC State. But yeah. Is it worth moving a meeting, or what do you think? We have 2 meetings in January. Yeah. There it is.
I
Yep.
mean, it would
If necessary,
If
to-
necessary.
necessary. You're going to be out that week, so it would need to be.
Mhm. So after puts it kind of close to the 25th, which might not.
Well, that's really not a problem if we were, let's say, for example, we have the meeting. I'm just going to throw this date out. Okay. We have the meeting on the 18th. Then if we don't have the need for the 25th, then I can make the board aware and you can change it. If you want to change the meeting date from the 9th. Any issues with planning no. Okay.
So basically, if I'm recapping, we'll set it for the 18th and the 25th, with the 25th being optional.
Well, let's leave the 25th on
Leave
the
it on.
list, and then if we don't need it, I can recommend to you to cancel it.
When we get closer.
But if that works for the board, that would be an alternative, is to have it on the 18th.
That works for me. Works for me.
Is that okay? Okay. Thank you.
Great. We always like to accommodate, get as many of us here as much of the time as possible.
And then June 12th, it's totally fine. I'll be here. It's just one of my girls' birthdays. So. If the 14th is possible, but if not, it's fine.
No objection.
I don't have any problem with the 14th. Should that be all right? All right.
What time is the party?
Yes, we'll all be invited.
Right.
Yeah.
I said our night just freed up, so we'll be there.
We'll be there. So we don't have anything else going on.
We're all good.
We're all good.
Maren's
Ivy's
19th
house.
birthday party.
Oh, even better.
19th
Oh,
birthday.
she'll love it.
That's right. Well, these people showing up at my birthday party. Any other thoughts, or should I say the motion is as presented with 2 adjustments? The 9th turns into the 18th of January, and the June 12th turns into the 14th.
Correct.
So as amended, as I just illuminated, that's my motion, your second. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You have a calendar.
Thank you.
Great work,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Appreciate it. Let's see, what else did I have here? Oh, I just had scribbled down when you were talking about volunteers that I'd love to just plant in everyone's brain the idea of, I'm hoping that we can really add to the budget when we go into 2023, 24. Some improvements to beach access has kind of been on my bucket list for a long time. But I also thought, I went to a Surfrider event last week and talked about beach nourishment was a topic they were talking about. So I gave them a little rundown of how well our project went this time and how much great grant money we got, and appreciate everybody that worked hard on that. But it got me thinking about, they've done a great job of getting folks to adopt all of those beach accesses. So they all have some person or group of people that goes and cleans them up multiple times a year. And I thought maybe we could come up with a grant program, and maybe we could get the Visitors Bureau to fund some of that grant. like our own mini grant program to say, if you want to plant something or make some extra improvement to your beach access that you've adopted, we're open to those proposals, and we also have a little bit of a budget that could go to it. It's just a thought, and maybe that's a little too loosey-goosey and we want to control it a little bit more, but we always have, the ability to say yay or nay on whatever somebody might come up with. But, of course you'd want to use, if you're going to put any plantings in, you want to, have the native species that would survive and work. They have to, follow those sorts of rules that would probably come from the, I'm blanking on the name of the group, the Master Gardeners and those guys, right. There's another word for it that's run out of my head. But there are folks that are experts that are glad to help when it comes to figuring that stuff out. But I think all those beach accesses could benefit just from a little more love than cleaning up. A little bit of edging and sweeping and shoveling and things that we want to encourage people to have. Feeling of ownership and pride of the beach access. They kind of are that's us putting our best foot forward. It's one thing all of our millions of visitors get to see. They all go on a beach access. Almost all of them. The vast majority of them are going to go on a beach access and see it. We've also talked about, improvements to the lighting, things like that are all possible in future budgets. But anyway, just throwing that out as part of my mayor's agenda. I think that's all I've got. So town manager's agenda.
Just want to point out to the board and anyone watching and anybody in the audience, the right flyer in the back. This is going to be a drawing for it at the holiday market, December the 17th, this coming Saturday. So
cool.
hope everybody can come out and take a chance at winning the kite.
Cool.
Cool. Yeah.
Does it has a story of, is it handmade or is it a?
No.
Oh, it's a manufactured. It looks kind of homemade from here, but I guess you could buy these things.
Yes.
It's pretty cool, but you could actually
Very
fly
cool.
it. It flies.
Yes.
Like a kite. Yeah, that's really cool.
Very cool.
All right, yeah. End of the drawing.
Good
Cool.
luck.
All right, so that's town manager's agenda. Town attorney, anything?
Nothing. Mayor
Always
and board.
good when you don't have anything.
Another good year.
We like that. Ms. Diaz, the consent agenda.
Yes, sir. First item, the minutes from the November 14th, 2022, monthly report from October 2022, the Sanitarian Society resolution. Got two more ladies of the society, Miss Alma Heyman and Miss Clara Bellman, celebrated their 100th birthdays on November 14th and 25th, respectively. And our mayor went over and presented them with the resolution, I think some flowers, and got some very nice pictures that you'll probably see soon on social media. The approval of the consent agenda will record these resolutions and their induction to the society. Appointment to the Killable Hills Local Firefighters Relief Fund Board. With the resignation of Mark Evans, the department is recommending the appointment of Ronald Seidman to fill the position. And approval of the consent agenda will record his appointment. And lastly, number 5, it's a recommendation for the acceptance of street improvements to Indian Drive, east of Seminole Street, and adoption of the official traffic map, POW bill map of the town to reflect the improvements. And with the approval of the consent agenda, that will approve these resolutions, and staff recommends approval of the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I will add, as long as I forgot to mention it in Mayor's remarks, that I forgot that it happened between then and now. I guess, yeah, it was a few weeks ago. Really great visit with 3 lovely ladies. Two of them had turned 100. One had turned 101, and she, a really great story. Grew up, was actually born in Kinnikit. Now that's got to be a small group, right?
Wow.
Actually, and she's her husband or her son said that they thought that she was the last person living that had been born in Kinnikit, because they knew a bunch of other people they've all passed on. So, and she's sharp as a tack and witty and interesting and fun, and I'm just inspired and want to be that cool when I'm 101. I want to be 101 at all. That's right. I want to
I
see
just
her at
wonder if we
102.
have an unusual large number.
Yeah.
Just think, I mean, that's wonderful.
It is great. It is great. And I asked them all the same question. I said, "So what's the trick to longevity? Is it tell me it's bourbon every day?" No,
Dip it in.
It's, and none of them had any big they stay active when it comes to having a friend group, and I've read that everywhere that makes a big deal of difference. And the staff over there does a fantastic job. Just to see them working with everybody, and what a great, cheery and fun and beautiful and clean and lovely environment over there.
We're very fortunate.
Very fortunate to have a great facility over there. And apparently, when I got there, they were just getting ready to decorate. Apparently, they go all out on the Christmas decorations. So I need to swing back by there to see what that's all about. It sounded like it had a lot in store. So anyway, we're in the middle of a motion, and I went and told a big story. So if there's no further discussion about the consent agenda, in case you forgot what we're talking about, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. We have consent agenda. Thank you so much. And second time tonight, I've lost my notes. After the consent agenda, we have one more opportunity for public comment. Yes, please.
Larissa York, 1205 Argus Road. And I was going to say thank you to the town for the support, to the police department for the support, and the great, awesome job that the Kill Devil Hills Fire Department did with the Santa around town. It was amazing. We had, we were dancing down the street. We were running around. I mean, and I thank you to the your finance girls who came out. They were so much fun. And I thank you for the candy canes that we were able to give out. I have one request for next year: dog bones.
Oh, great
There
idea.
were so many dogs, and I felt so bad that I couldn't give them something.
Right.
So I would love
Great
us to be able to
idea.
do that.
That's a great
But
idea.
thank you. I appreciate
You're gonna be
everything.
dancing in
and-
the street.
No
We'll have your dog
problem.
bones.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you for
you.
doing it.
Thank you so much for helping out.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it. Anyone else for public comment? All right, hearing none, we'll close public comment. Response to public comment. Here, cheers, we agree. I was in the parade in Hatteras last weekend, and same deal. We're like, oh, dog bones. We should have done dog bones. We were thinking the same thing. Also, the kids giving out the candy didn't realize that there's the slow part of town, and then there's all the people. They gave away too much candy in the beginning.
Right.
So you got to watch out for that, right? Pace yourselves. A lot of kids around the corner. They're looking at you like, where's the... So anyway, more candy next year and dog bones. All right, that is the close of response to public comment. And one more motion. Anyone?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you so
We're
much. Really good.
Happy
Appreciate it.
holidays.
Thank
Happy
you,
holidays. Merry Christmas and happy holidays.
Yeah, that's such a good idea.
Christmas themed dog bones.
I'm-
There's my other one.
I'm not
You
sure.
got it underneath somehow. Like, where'd it go?
Are you
Got a
seeing
Christmas-
him tomorrow or talking to him?
Okay, that's cool. I was just trying to figure out if I was going to